Hello there and welcome back to the studio today. So today we are working on Strathmore drawing paper. I'm going to be using Fusane Nitrum charcoal, and if you're interested in exactly what materials I'm using, all of that information will be given to you in the description box down below. So to the top left corner of the screen will be a Rembrandt self-portrait. Okay, so I am going to again type the name of the Rembrandt self-portrait in the description box down below, so that you can draw or paint along with me. So let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that I always look for, okay, is composition. And in today's drawing episode is going to be geared towards absolute beginners. So I'm going to be taking you very much step by step in a very quick and simple fashion. Okay, so it's going to be composition, block in, large plane, small plane, selective render, and that's it. Just 5 simple and easy steps. So right now we are honing in on the compositional stage, and composition can be achieved through simple straight lines and angles, and no much more complicated than just maybe 5 or 6 lines. Straight lines and angles are going to be key for this stage. And there's another thing I don't usually talk about on video, but that is gesture, the gesture of the head. I define gesture to be the movement of the pose. Now, the gesture here, so the movement of the pose, is pretty centered. It's pretty centered. So let me talk about that. So gesture kind of goes right into, the orientation of the head. Is the head centered? Is it turned? So again, right now I'm pretty certain that this is where I want the head to be placed, somewhere near the center. So the bottom of the chin is going to be here, the top of the hairline is going to be there, the hat is obviously going to be somewhere over here, and going back in this direction. So that's pretty much going to be it for the placement. I want to make sure that I don't go off camera here with the collar. So let's just say that it'll go down there, just so I don't go off of the screen. So now let me first define a few terms here before I continue to move any further. So remember, if you're new to this channel, this is a master study, okay? This is a master study. It is a learning exercise where we observe a masterful painting, such as the one over there, and we create a painting or a drawing as an end result. The very act of observing, spending a long time studying those paintings is what helps us learn, and that's why I've been doing so many of these master studies. It's just this time I'm really trying to gear it towards absolute beginners. So now I'm starting to throw in a few more things. Okay, so you have the development coming through here of the eye sockets. Okay, so the corner of the concavity of the eye socket is going to be there. Follow this center line down, and you have the bottom of the nose. Okay, and this is the main triangle. Okay, 1 dot here. Okay, 1 dot over here, another here, connect 3 dots, and you have a triangle. And I will continue to explain myself with the purpose of this demonstration. It is not to create a perfect photographic rendition of the painting that we are observing. Okay, this is all about technique. This is not a history lesson either. I'm not going to be, creating a video of how Rembrandt drew or how he painted. That's not what this is about. This is about using our own techniques, so this technique here that I'm giving to you, and creating a drawing. Okay? Just to clarify some things, because I know I'm going to get a few people in the comments that are going to say, that doesn't look like the Rembrandt. And then I guess my response would be, though I probably won't worry too much about those comments, my response would be, that was never the point. Okay, this is about learning a technique. Okay, now let me again explain what I'm doing here. So this is the corner of the eye, basically I'm following the structure of the eye socket all the way around there. Okay, so now I'm just starting to look for a simple shape. And we're now moving into, or we have just moved into, the block-in stage. And the block-in stage is the first stage, really, where you're going to have to sit back a lot and take your time with all of these shapes. So the block-in stage can be defined as simply simplifying the complexity of all of those forms that you're seeing there into a few simple straight lines and angles. And the mission here is to learn how to reason with shape. Okay, reason with shape, meaning keep your shapes simple and easy. Okay, notice how I'm making these marks, and this is going to be a fairly long episode compared to most YouTube videos, though it's going to be a little bit shorter than my usual ones. But okay, if you draw along with me, I highly recommend it. Make sure to stand back as far as you can. Try to set up your drawing board on an easel, or if you're just using a sketchbook, that's okay. You can just set up a sketchbook there on the couch or wherever you're sitting. It's all right. Now, standing back is an important thing to do, especially in the block-in stage, because it helps you gauge your proportions by eye. So that's another thing about this process. I'm trying as much as I can to use my eye to gauge proportion. So after sitting back here, I see that I can probably move the nose a little bit higher up. Okay. And the thing I just used to erase is a chamois cloth. Okay. And again, all of the tools that I'm using will be typed up in the description box down below. So now we're going to start to place in the eyes, and eyes are very complicated they're seemingly very complicated to the beginner. So to all my beginners out there, I'm going to be, taking you one step at a time. Right now it may look a little bit goofy, a little bit strange, but don't worry. This is just how we build from simple to complex. So just a little mark there for the iris. There we have a corner of the tear duct going this way, eye socket going all through there. Follow the axes all the way through here, and then we have another tear duct right here. Okay, you with me? Just following from one point to another point. Now here we have the tear duct following all the way across here. As you notice, I didn't sharpen this, though it was already previously sharpened in the past, but on purpose, I'm using a dull point to the charcoal. That's because a dull point will actually make a more broad mark, and it'll keep me away from, trying to create a perfect, clean, pristine outline, which is not what I'm after at this point. So now I'm starting to mass in the shadows, and I still consider this part of the block-in stage. Okay, when we move on from the block-in stage, we will get into values, and that's where I will talk about plane. But for now, we're just building up a simple scaffolding, just using simple straight lines and angles. And this is something I like to do here, just massing in, the simple shapes of light and dark. Since I'm right-handed, I like to use diagonal marks to go across. So after looking at my screen here, I think I can actually adjust the light sensitivity. There you go. So you should be able to see now with a little bit more clarity. So the important thing is the proportion right now, just making sure that these, eyes are in a relative correct position. Relative is the term that I'm using. It doesn't mean that it has to be 100% perfect. There's the corner of the side of the eye socket completing that form as we move on down towards the cheekbone, going down here and over here. Now we're going to just fill in more of the dark shape. Okay, as we move on down. Now for the mouth, little dark shape here and a dark shape here. Now the chin obviously is too far down, so I will adjust it for you. So we're going to move this shape all the way up to here. And the next thing I should probably talk about is likeness. Likeness can be a bit of a distraction, especially if you're just getting into portrait painting. It takes a lot of patience to get a likeness, and a likeness is, remember, just the resemblance of the drawing or the painting to the model. In the beginning, it's okay if in the first hour or whatever, the drawing or the painting doesn't resemble the model at all. It's okay. It's something that you can build up to. All right. Now, the more proficient you get at drawing or painting, the faster you will be. So the faster you will be able to get a likeness. I'm purposefully slowing myself down a little bit here so you can see every single mark. So I'm comparing the bottom of the ear, using a horizontal here. Let me draw this out. A horizontal, based on a horizontal, the nose lies a little bit higher up, okay? So what was I saying? The likeness is something you can build up to over time. And that's achieved by accurately describing shape. Accurately describing shape. It could not be any more simple than that. So the bottom of the nose. Okay, so for the mouth, I'll let you in on a little secret here. With most of us portrait artists, the mouth, forget it. Just leave it as a simple shape, like that, kind of a suggestion, and then move right into the next stage, which is going to be the large plane stage. So now I'm going to introduce another tool. Okay, so this is the stump. So the stump here, which mine is kind of worn, I haven't actually used the stump in a long time. You want to keep a side that is for adding and one that is for subtracting. See this? I can subtract or I can add. So the way you keep a subtractive side to your to your stump, is to just fill it with charcoal. So I'm going to, at the same time as I'm massing in this dark, notice I'm going to mass in this dark for the hat. Mind you, this is not going to look anything like the Rembrandt for quite a while, though I'm kind of pressed with time for this one. But anyway, so this is how you fill up the stump with the charcoal. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side while I'm doing this, while I'm showing you this. So again, simple straight line and angle there. Now the another secret to the likeness, or another thing that might help you with likeness if you struggle with likeness, is poster image. So the poster image is what you're seeing here. Basically, it's the prioritization of light and dark. So you can actually achieve a really superb likeness with just two values. Okay, you can do that. That is something that can be done, though it will kind of slow you down if you are interested in creating a portrait drawing, with more value, such as what we're doing here. See how we're starting to add another value? So that's why I kind of jump, really. I do a lot of jumps. So from the block-in stage to the large plane stage, if you would like to spend more time in the block-in stage, you can do that. But for all intensive purposes, I tend to jump right into this stage. So now what I'm going to do is stand back. So I'm going to fill in a little bit of a dark shape for the background. Okay. And I'm going to try to get the shape surrounding the head as well established as I can with just a few simple marks. So going down here, then there's a shadow all under here. So I'm basically setting up the stage for the more exacting shapes that we're going to put in here. So one of the very eye-catching things about Rembrandt self-portraits is this hat and this very intense look that we don't have yet. So I want to get this, the peripheral as well established first before I jump too far into the smaller planes, because that's the next stage that we're going to move into after we get the large planes. Is going to be the smaller planes. Let's even let this mask go all down here. Okay, all right, so for large plane, I'm going to be using the stump. Okay, so now we are in the large plane stage, filling in large simplified planes all around, but mainly prioritizing this area right here, the main triangle. Okay, so when you're jumping into the large plane stage, you want to prioritize the main triangle. And why is that? That is because the main triangle, consisting of the eyes and the nose, the eyes and the nose are the most difficult to adjust once they are wrong. So I think that from a practical standpoint, it's a better idea to adjust less when you move on. Okay, take care of the most difficult things early on, just again from a practical standpoint. So now with the stump, just adding a large plane for the lower eyelid. See how I'm starting to utilize the additive property of the stump. Okay, so now we're going to add in this plane, this form overlap. Okay. And now all down here, so we can get that really serious look that Rembrandt is giving us. Now, of course, the eyes are going to be adjusted, so I'm using the subtractive side of the stump here now to adjust. This could also be considered a materials video. I am talking quite a bit about how to actually use this medium. So again, a little more force, and now I'm adding in more charcoal. Now you see how the large plane is starting to convey the illusion of form. Here's the corner for the cheekbone, though it's not really that apparent in the painting, so I'm not going to focus too much on it. Now again, dark accent here. And remember, an accent is just an area where light is blocked off when one form meets another form. So that's what happens with the nostril. The nostril is basically the nose turning into itself and blocking out the light. Okay, now we're going to continue to add these planes. And depending on what paper you're using, I'm using the Strathmore 400 series drawing paper. Once you cover the white of the paper, it's gone. Like I've been noticing. So that's why I'm leaving the lights a little bit open. You know, sometimes you'll see that I will fill the entire paper with charcoal and then subtract from there. And that's a valid way of working, of course, but lately I haven't really been doing that, just so I can preserve the light, the brightest light, which just helps me with value as a result as well. So now as you see, I just push that shape inwards a little bit. Okay, so pretty soon here we're going to switch gears into the small plane stage. But first, I want to make sure that I cover all of these large planes. All right, are you still with me? Here is the shadow, okay? That is the concavity, really. That's the terminator line. For the shadow, terminator line is where light terminates, shadow begins. This is a side plane, okay? This is the side plane of the face turning this way. Of course, I'm going to have to make this shadow a little more specific, but I'm not going to get caught up on that. Here we have the bottom of the orbicularis oris, okay? Now the chin, the proportion of the chin is very, very simple to adjust, okay? Don't worry too much about the chin. The chin is something that you can easily move with, if this were a painting, with a brush stroke or two, okay? Don't worry about it. You know, try to gauge proportion as accurately as you can by eye, but don't stress about that area, okay? All right, so now let's go ahead, switch into the next stage, which is going to be the small plane stage. So for that, it should come as no surprise that we're going to return to the main triangle. So with the eyes, okay, more pressure creates a darker mark. Okay, so I'm trying to put a much darker mark. And I noticed this with a lot of Rembrandts. I think this is what gives a unique look to a lot of Rembrandt's portraits, is the darkness of the pupil. Okay, so I want to make sure to get that first. This is a kneaded eraser. Okay, let me go ahead and turn off the autofocus now that we're focusing on the smaller planes. With the kneaded eraser, I will subtract a little bit of light to get a highlight there. Okay, a little bit of light here to get a highlight there. As to whether or not the highlight is in the right place is to be seen, but for me, I think it's important to get these values there, you know, to start putting in as many values as I can in areas of focus. And that's what we are doing now with the small plane stage. So we're considering areas now where we want to start to close up form. And now by closing up form, I mean applying or giving ourselves the liberty of now using all the values. And remember, value, again, if you are new to this channel, value is how light or how dark something is. So when you're talking about a portrait, the face, hands or the figure or something like that, the local value is not going to change very much. Notice how local value changed from here to here, meaning that the hat on average is darker than the flesh tones. Well, in the portrait, especially when we're working in monochrome like this, things tend to be around the same local value. So now what we're after is the quality of the light traveling across the form, and that's how we are going to describe a more realistic image. So notice how areas that are getting darker are starting to create more of an effect of form. Okay, and that's no coincidence. That's really, you know, I'm thinking of as planes start to move away from the light, such as up here, they start to just receive less light. And it's all about the angle of the planes now. Okay, this is a very conceptual stage. So a lot of these adjustments can't be seen that easily. Okay, we're really going to have to train ourselves to look. Okay, are you still with me here? So each area now is going to have a planar relationship to every other area. So for instance, this area is picking up more light. So I'm using the the kneaded eraser to get more light. See how I'm kind of rolling up a point with the kneaded eraser. Okay, and now we're going to start to put in some of the surrounding values to form overlaps, and this little fold here. This is a very Rembrandt thing. And notice how very little attention is being paid to the things surrounding the main triangle. So again, with portraiture, the main triangle is really, it's key to everything basically. You want to gauge everything off of the main triangle. Okay, so sitting back, now I see that I can add a little more of a dark shape under here. A very picturesque Rembrandt, the bag, tear bag under the eye, that tired look that Rembrandt gives us. And again, I think this is like one of the things about Rembrandts that are very appealing to the eye, you know, this tired look that he gives to the self-portraits. It's very human. It doesn't seem mechanical. You can mechanically reproduce Rembrandt paintings now with like you know, really advanced computer programs and things like that, but you'll never get the humanity out of it that Rembrandt could achieve with his own hands. And again, this technique, these techniques that I'm giving you are going to train you to be able to create your own original work. And as you see, we're now starting to gauge more and more on the main triangle. And now, again, we're in the small plane stage. So I'm going to adjust this shadow shape a little bit. Going to use the clean side of the stump, or the subtractive side, just to blur over there a little bit. And to blur down here as we start to move down towards the nose. So I'll let you in on another little secret. A little secret about portrait drawing and portrait painting. Try as much as you can to, you know, record the shapes as accurately as possible, but at the same time know that it's never going to be 100%. Never. Unless you know, again, use a photograph and just, you know, print it onto the canvas or to the paper or whatever. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that it is okay if there is some deviance from, say, your portrait and the model that you're observing from life. It's actually okay to have some deviance. And by deviance, I mean differences. It's all right. If you look at a lot of old master drawings, a lot of old master paintings, there's a lot of stylization that goes on there. Okay, and that, I think, is the biggest difference between classical work done in the past and so-called classical work done in the present. Though there's a lot of wonderful, incredible artists working today. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to adjust the shadow shape for the nose a little bit more. And at the same time, I'm going to have to add in this value here for the side of the bulb of the nose. Okay, side of the bulb of the nose. This is the wing, bulb, and the second bulb of the nose. The root of the nose is down here. Okay. following along with me as we're starting to subdivide these planes. Here we have a dark accent there for the bottom of the nose. Okay, all right, so let's return the dark accents. So again, portraiture is very back and forth-ish. Very, very back and forth-ish. So what you want to do is constantly keep moving around. You know, even though you're working on, say, the main triangle or something like that, keep the brush or the pencil or whatever you're using moving around. And that way you can be very free. It's a very liberating way of working. Now we're putting in the Philtrum. And I did say that I would adjust this shape. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it now. Simple straight lines and angles going down and over. Trying not to outline the shadow as much. And again, like I said, I'm going to keep myself moving around. See that I can actually make the eyes squint a little bit more than I had them before. I'm switching to the kneaded eraser. So if you see a lot of classical drawings or realist drawings online, and you see that when you get closer and closer to them, there's almost nothing there. And that's because, like I said before, standing back is a thing. It's a really, really big thing. Standing back or sitting back. You know, having a good stance, placing yourself in a good place far back from the drawing. And what that does is it gives you a sense of perspective, you know, away from your drawing, so you're not too careful with it. You don't want to be too careful with it. If you start to get too careful with it, you're going to start not liking it. Trust me, you're going to end up not liking the process. Bit more of a dark shape here for the mouth. And again, I'm trying to keep the mouth really simple because it's so easy to move. If I get it wrong, I might get it wrong. But, you know, it's important to be honest with yourself. And it's hard to convey in a video how much fun it is to work in this way. This very liberating, approach. Liberating yet still tactical approach. It's very hard to describe, hard to convey with a single camera angle. But, trust me when I say this is a lot of fun. I think this is a lot more fun than to, sit there and perfectly try to trace out the drawing or something, trace out the outlines, and then fill them in. I just think, to be honest, this is more fun. And I want you to have a much more fun experience when you're working, especially if you are a beginner. Now, I realize that this is a very difficult task for someone that's just getting into drawing, just getting into portrait painting. So I'm going to start giving you advice. I'm going to multitask a little bit here. So as I start to put in the little shape here for the hair, I'm going to start to give you some advice. There are many wonderful ateliers and art schools out there where you can go and learn. If you can find a mentor or work with someone it will accelerate your learning. Okay, you will learn much faster. And I was very fortunate when I was younger to have that. You know, I had Paulden Hamilton, I had my teacher, I had Robin Fry, John DeMartin, Steve Early, all of these teachers from my past. And I really don't think I'd be at the point where I'm at now if it wasn't for the teaching that I received. Now, if you are in a position where, you know, you can't afford to go to school, you know, for art, or you don't have the time to go to school for art. Maybe you're working full time in something, or maybe you've just retired, or whatever it may be. If you don't have the time for that, there are still ways that you can learn. And that's actually what I'm trying to do here with these videos. So with these master studies, if you are a beginner, even the portrait painting ones that are much more complicated than this, draw along with me. You know, and if you don't get everything all at once, it's not a big deal. The fact that you're there and you're observing these masterful paintings, that one, not this, but that one, it will do you tremendous good. Spend as much time as you can in the museums. Again, it will do you tremendous good to do that. And you will be able to learn, okay? Even though you can't make it to an atelier or an art school or something like that. But there are tons of workshops as well. That's the next thing I'm going to recommend to you. Try to look for workshops. I personally want to teach more workshops. A workshop being like a 4 or 5 day class. Okay. But most importantly, really, is the consistency. Be consistent. Okay, so now we're starting to block in some more specific shapes, and as you can tell, we're starting to work our way down towards the chin. So I'm going to stand back again. So it's important to take a look at the shape of the head. Now this is much more straight, going down here, and then kind of more of a flat jawline. Okay, so try as much as you can to not think about it so much as a human head, and think about it, you know, in the abstract, you know, parallel lines, seemingly parallel lines, a curve that's closer to flat down here, and that's it. The more you can abstract what you're looking at, the more real it becomes for you, the more real you can make it. Oops. So now with the mouth, as I said before, the mouth can give you quite a bit of trouble if you spend a long time on it. So my recommendation with the mouth is to do enough to get it to read, and just that, and then stand back, and then prioritize the stuff surrounding the mouth, the structures surrounding the mouth. Because you can fall in a trap of trying to get this to get the mouth to look exact. Whoa, sorry. Yeah. So side story time. Yeah, in my studio, there's a lot of spiders. So a spider just crawled on my foot. I'm not arachnophobic. I was in the past, but I actually really do appreciate spiders now and the role that they play in nature. But anyway, enough of a side story. I'm going to stop talking about that. Just needed to explain why I kind of just jumped. Okay, now with the subtractive side of the stump, I'm starting to add in a little bit of a value. Okay. Subtracting a little bit of light. Now I'm going to tell myself to move on, start to put in more shapes around the face as we start to close in on the lights. Now the kneaded eraser. So I can get the little highlight there, though it probably won't show up on camera. Subtract a little highlight here. Now with the subtractive side, I'm going to try to even this out. Trying to even out the side of the face. Now I'm going to return to the main triangle yet again. Start to push these darks. All right, so now we are going to very quickly here move into the final stage, which is going to be the selective render stage. So let me go ahead and just fill the background once more. Make it darker, but not as dark as the hat. Leaving these marks in the background is okay. It's all right. It kind of gives more character, I think. Okay, all right, so with the selective render stage, I would consider this to be optional if you are a beginner. So if you're a beginner, you don't have to do this next stage. So for this next stage, what I'm going to do is pick areas that I want to take to a higher degree of finish. Okay, though I recommend that you spend as much as your time looking at the big picture. But now, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to start to close up some of the forms in a much more kind of finished looking way. That was such a weird way to word that. I'm just going to be looking at the eyes, okay? So eyes, nose, and maybe a little bit with the mouth, but mainly with the eyes. Some of this is going to be repetitive, so going back and forth, between values. And as I said before, charcoal, vine charcoal or Hussein charcoal, just charcoal in general, as long as it's not charcoal pencil, the general charcoal pencil, it handles very similar to oil paint, okay? This kind of charcoal, the Hussein type charcoal, not this. This doesn't handle like oil paint. So the reason I'm sticking with this is just, again, because it handles very similar to oil paint. It's actually some of the charcoal. I'm just trying to use the chamois to fan out some of the charcoal that was on the face. Okay, but anyway, it handles very similar to oil paint. So if you want to move up to oil painting, or just move to oil painting in general, try to practice this very drawing with charcoal. I highly recommend it. This, especially with Rembrandt. I mean, come on, Rembrandt. Really, Rembrandt. Rembrandt really is one of the best, artists to look at and study. And do a lot of these, and even the same drawing. So when I'm trying to do, or when I'm doing a studio painting, I will do a study. I will make myself do a study, even if I don't want to. Even if I want to jump right into the painting, I'll do a study. So I actually end up painting the same head more than once. And it just makes you that much more aware, more alert of the subtleties within the human head. So now I'm just going back and forth between all of these shapes, okay? And just trying to now solidify them. Make them much more solid. I'm going to stand back again. I could probably push this in. And then of course the shape of the shadow I can now start to make more refined. Gonna try to get the highlight for the nose now by covering the light and then subtracting. And then of course leaving these untouched just so that they can be as bright as possible. Going back into the concavity of the eye socket. Like I said, kind of repetitive stuff. This is why I think it's a good idea to draw or paint along with me. So squint to see value. Okay, I'm actually kind of squinting at the photo reference. Squint to see value. And to simplify. When you're painting, you actually want to open your eyes or blur your eyes to see color. But since we're not really focusing on color, I'm going to tell you to squint. More of a dark shape over here. You know, I heard someone say once, painting, now this is nothing against journalism, but I heard someone say painting is, think of painting as poetry and not journalism. So we're not necessarily trying to, like I said before, perfectly record data that we're observing in nature. Instead, we're taking in the information and portraying it using our technique, of course, you know, trying to be true to the shapes, but at the same time knowing that it's going to be poetic in a way. Poetic in the sense that we kind of filter nature through our own hands and our own eyes. Now again, in the selective render, I'm just looking for, excuse me, for just the areas that I want to leave more finished in which areas I want to leave less finished. I'm going to sit back. It's going to be darker over here. And again, I think I can still make a few more adjustments. Though, of course, I don't want to be caught up. I don't want to be caught up with trying to make it too similar to the original. Yeah, I just have to push that shape in there a little bit. So I want the bottom of the chin to be a little less finished, but we should put some of these little form overlaps under here, using the light side of the stump. Gosh, I really love drawing. You know, I wasn't having the best day. Just having computer trouble. But anyway, I wasn't having the best day. And then I just started drawing this and filming this. And like, it's off topic here. But it just makes life so much better, I think. I don't know. Does drawing make your day better? Painting make your life better? Certainly does for me. And I want to share this with the world. The ability to do this. I'm going to share another little side story with you in a moment here. Just want to get a few little shapes here. Again, selective render, selectively looking at areas to render out. So, side story time. I wonder, do any of you have artists in your family? You know, maybe your grandfather, your great grandmother, your grandmother, your parents, or whoever it may be. My grandfather was actually a architect in Peru, I heard, and he actually was a portraitist. He would draw portraits in charcoal. At least that's what my family tells me. But all of his charcoal drawings are gone. Like, they're basic. I don't know where they are, or did my family lie to me? I have no idea. But it'd be interesting to know if any of you have artists in your family, or maybe if you're related to, you know, like maybe you're related to Sargent or something, or I don't know. This would be an interesting thing to think about. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. So again, like I say, there's some little side topics that I talk about in these paint-alongs, or draw-alongs in this case. Whoa, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. So I did say that there are spiders in the studio, and now you're definitely going to think I'm arachnophobic, but I love spiders. But one literally just fell, like, where is it? It was huge. It was huge. It like fell across the side off camera over here. But okay, never mind. See, like I said before, these videos aren't really edited very much. You know, so you really get the whole experience, all of me here talking with you. Alright, I think that's a selective render. We're almost done with the selective render. I'm just going to go over these dark shapes one more time. And then we're going to call it a day. Maybe down here. Just throw in a little mark over there. Try to keep these marks very loose, painterly. One more time over here, and again I apologize for jumping and kicking the camera. Oh, there it is. There it is. Do you see it? Do you see it? Oh my god, it's another jumping spider. I love jumping spiders, actually. So look at that. Look at this little guy. Let me get the camera. Hold on. So as you know, I like spiders. I actually don't kill them. So I'm gonna catch this guy or gal very safely. There you go. There you go, little guy. Gonna rehouse him, take him back home to the outdoors. Alright, the spider is now safe and secure. I'm just gonna fill in this little cup mark here that I accidentally put when I was trying to catch the spider. But wasn't that neat? I didn't think that that would happen during the filming. I knew that a spider jumped around me, but I didn't know it would show up on camera. I'm really happy though. I love jumping spiders. They're so cute. They have the big eyes, and anyway, let's keep this about the drawing. But wasn't that kind of interesting? Okay, so again, just going to darken a little bit here, and then we're going to call it. Alright, that should be about it for the... Oh, did I do that before? Okay, that's good, that's good. That should be about it for this portrait drawing demonstration. Again, I geared it towards beginners, so if you are a beginner, I highly recommend you draw along with me. As you can tell, it is not a perfect photographic rendition of the painting, and as I always say, if that were the case, then I would just get a picture of it, print it onto the canvas or to the drawing paper, and call it a day. That's not what this was about. This was a master study, a learning experience with a drawing or painting as an end result. And the very act of observing, masterful paintings helps you learn so much. It has helped me so much. That being said, sorry about the thing with the spider. I love spiders. I know that a lot of you might be afraid of spiders. I certainly was not too long ago, until recently, really. But anyway, sorry about that little side thing. But anyway, I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and I'll see you on the next episode. Oh, and by the way, so if you're afraid of spiders, look away. But anyway, by the way, this little guy or gal is safe. The lid here has a bunch of air holes. So I think this is just such a beautiful thing, jumping spiders. But again, I'm gonna release this guy or gal out where they belong, out in the wild. Just so you know, our little spider friend is nice and safe. And if you want to name this little spider before I take it back to the wild outside, let me know what you would like to name this little cute guy or gal. I'm thinking Remy, right? Rembrandt, Remy, I don't know. What are your opinions on the name of this little guy or gal before I release them back into nature? In any case, sorry about the whole spider stuff. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.